Hey everybody. So, I wanted to share something today that I've come to learn and see from doing quite many years now of psychosomatic work and somatic integration. And it's this element of the freeze response that gets locked in our bodies that I feel like is so often overlooked because I have this impression that the personal development and healing space world, it's very fight and flight oriented. So there's often a pretty cathartic approach to healing, um, and almost like a fear of the freeze. Because the freeze obviously is something that's stuck, it's a stuck energy. And so, when we bring our unchecked, um, capitalistic, like goal oriented mindset into the healing space, then obviously we feel more drawn to the cathartic and stronger, expressive healing approach, which often is more the fight flight. So, because we're used to that kind of energy. But what I've come to experience in myself and in what I observe in other bodies as well is that there is there can be and tends to be a very deep shock inside of our bodies simply from being born, just coming back all the way to birth, which is obviously very common. Like we all often talk, or many of us talk about birth being a trauma for this very sensitive being a trauma for the soul. And in my opinion and experience, it's also just this like the disconnect from our essence, the disconnect from each other, the disconnect from our human natural body to its natural environment, aka Mother Earth. That in us creates a kind of a freeze, it creates a shock, it creates a sense of overwhelm. And that overwhelm actually is like we're freezing because it's too much to bear. And then we adapt to the pace of this current earthly structures and systems. And so we develop flight and fight mechanisms in order to survive, in order to think that we're thriving. So, like the current systems, economical systems, they are so much built on survival mechanism. And so we're all kind of running on some kind of fight and flight. And underneath that is contained a layer of freeze, though. And that freeze cannot really be, like simply screamed away or pillow punched away or manifested away or something. It's such a I also don't want to like negate any other approach because it's a holistic approach to our, being a human soul integrated being. So it all has its relevance and it all has its place at certain times in our lives and journeys. But what I wanted to say about this freeze piece here is this: so it can be contained or basically laying underneath some fight and flight. And I have something else coming to mind that I want to say now, so I'm gonna stay focused and try. With this freeze piece, there's such a shock and such a sense of overwhelm that can live inside the system, the human system, inside the body. And that usually just needs utmost tenderness and care and, like a sense of tender awareness. It's like, I like to think of it as an ice cube that's frozen. And if we come to the ice cube and go like, "Rah, we need to release this blockage," and we crush the ice, then we just have splinters that are scattered everywhere. But if we go with this tender light of our awareness and meet the ice, the ice, the frozen parts in ourselves, and give them the motherly care, give them the like just this compassionate awareness, then they can actually thaw or melt, and that becomes water, right? So it can, and water can flow. um, that's something I wanted to say about this healing approach, and about trauma that lives in our bodies, and how this can show up. Like obviously, like I think some freeze stuff, or like there's freeze and fight and flight that can all be pretty tangled up as well, and so it can show up as depression, as chronic pain, and so it also becomes relevant to not try to yank ourselves out of paralysis, but to meet ourselves there and to see what is like the doable thing from here. What is a doable step I can take, or what is a doable amount of time that I can also just be with this, like sit with this, meditate as this or in this. So yeah, just also being aware of our human sledgehammer approach to conquering issues, and and seeing what really feels nurturing and available and doable with our resources. And sometimes it's very baby, like very small steps, but they are also very fundamental to our embodiment. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for this round.